Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted by a grand jury in New York. We will explain why. Those who provide food for the most needy in our city received a large cash infusion of $200,000. And according to a recent Nanos poll, Tory leader Pierre Poilievre is now the leading choice amongst Canadians to become our country's next prime minister.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. The government of Alberta announced an additional $4.32 million to help Ukrainian refugees find temporary living spaces upon arriving here in our province. The funding will offer further emergency accommodations for the next 4 months to supplement support from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. The extra cash will increase the number of hotel rooms available to Ukrainians when they first arrive in Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Calgary, Edmonton, and in Red Deer. Those who are struggling to put food on the table here in our city received some very welcome news today. A huge donation of just under $200,000 will be going to support the Lethbridge and Interfaith Food Banks, along with the University of Lethbridge Students' Union. BCN's Micah Quinn chatted with Alberta Deputy Premier Nathan Neudorf and members of the food bank about the funding announcement.
This nearly $200,000 of donation grant funding for our communities is tremendous. $100,000 of it was in the form of a matching grant, which means that our community, in and of themselves, and the people there have donated over and above another $100,000 worth of goods that can be provided to those who are less fortunate.
Alberta Deputy Premier and Infrastructure Minister Nathan Neudorf presented a check for $50,000 to Mac Nickel, the Executive Director of the Lethbridge Food Bank, on Friday. Nickel says the money will be a big help in serving clients at the food bank as the cost of food continues to skyrocket.
That really hurts the food banks. We see more clients come in, which means I have to go buy more food. But when I go buy more food, the food costs are a lot higher than they were too. So we kind of get pinched on both ends. And these $50,000 like this helps us really kind of bridge that gap where we need to see that fulfillment in our programming. The other side of it is it really gives some motivation to some of our donors to come out and support us. As hard as it is for our clients, it's also very hard for our donors right now. Many of our donors have had to fall off because they need to take care of themselves.
Nickel told us the Lethbridge Food Bank has seen an increase of 70 client households a month compared to 2022. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
Alberta's opposition leader, Rachel Notley, slammed Alberta Premier Daniel Smith. Notley says Smith needs to take questions on her alleged interference in criminal prosecutions and launch a 30-day investigation led by a judge. This follows the release of a video in which Premier Smith told Arthur Pawlowski, who was awaiting trial for 2 charges related to the Coutts blockade, that she sympathizes with him and allegedly promised to intervene on his behalf.
We saw a video where the Premier spoke at great length about his criminal case with someone about to go to trial and said that she had spoken already and was going to speak again to the Deputy Attorney General, the Chief Crown Prosecutor, about the specific way in which his case was being prosecuted. We did not have that before. We had a he said, she said thing before. We had CBC saying, we understand this is the case, and them saying, well, prove it. And then saying, oh, we didn't do it. Well, now we have video evidence that the Premier interfered with the administration of justice.
Premier Daniel Smith has denied that she or her office engaged in any inappropriate conduct regarding COVID-19 prosecutions. You know, there's an online social media group which says it stands up for Albertans' rights and resources. The Alberta Proud Group is a grassroots organization which says it fights for our country's oil and gas sector, along with the rights of law-abiding gun owners. The group's president, Lindsay Wilson, says more Albertans should become engaged in their communities so they know what the true issues are. She says it would even start at the municipal level.
Political engagement really starts at home. And when I say that, I mean, it really starts by getting involved in your local community, whether it's through advocacy groups, volunteer groups, heck, even your kids' sports associations. I mean, all of these local groups are run by volunteers. And I think that's what a lot of people who are burnt out, overworked, overstimulated, overindulged. I think we're all fighting to keep up, and I understand that. Certainly, I'm one of those people as well. But get involved at the local level, and get in touch with your local councillors, your mayor. Find out what's happening in your city, and then find out how the provincial level is impacting that, and then go to the federal level.
Make sure you catch the full interview with Alberta Proud's Lindsay Wilson and myself coming up later in our broadcast. Well, it was a beautiful Friday here in southwestern Alberta. Lots of sunshine and nice and mild. Jeanette Rocher is in now with a quick peek at the forecast. Jeanette, we better enjoy these warmer temperatures right now since things can change in a hurry here, and they just might on Sunday.
True, Helen. I'm not sure if it's an April Fool's joke or not, because so much for April showers. We are expecting more flurries on Sunday and a slight drop in temperature. Now, this evening, though, we're looking at an overnight low of 0, seeing partly cloudy skies developing over around midnight and 50 to 70 kilometer per hour winds. Into tomorrow, Saturday, we're still looking at double digits, but there's that rain. We could see a 30% chance of showers with a high of 10 degrees there. I'll be back later in the show, though, to give you that 7-day forecast.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeanette. The court case for Hunter Alexander Frank to answer to multiple charges related to the death of 34-year-old Tia Blood was adjourned today at the Lethbridge courthouse. Frank was previously charged with offering an indignity to human remains and 2 counts of theft under $5,000. He now faces charges of manslaughter and trafficking a controlled substance. The case will head back to court on April the 4th. A massive construction project in our city is making some major headway. Construction workers have been working around the clock on the new Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center, which will be a community hub to support our agricultural industry. Angela Stewart has that story.
From those doors to this concrete wall that you can see, there'll be a ground level patio.
After many years of planning and development and having been an active construction site for exactly 2 years, Lethbridge and District Exhibition celebrated a big milestone Friday.
That's actually where we broke the ground 2 years ago today.
To celebrate the 2-year anniversary of the groundbreaking, local media were invited to take a tour of the soon-to-be Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center, which will serve as a community hub and economic driver for all things agriculture in southern Alberta.
The more people we get in this space, the more people realize how different this is than anything we have in southern Alberta.
Bill Scales with Ward Brothers Construction, the company who is managing the build, says anywhere from 120 to 130 workers have been on the site day to day, putting in around 2,000 local man hours to get this 268,000 square foot project done.
You know, we've got some really great trades, and we've got to hand it to them. A lot of local trades and people involved, and even the ones from out of town, still from Alberta, and you know, we count on our trades a lot, and they made these things happen.
A massive part of the build is the facility's trade halls. Crews worked around the clock for 4 days, laying 1,000 cubic meters of concrete into the floor system of this 104,000 square foot area.
So it is not a conventionally rebar reinforced 8-inch concrete slab. It has a special liquid and cement admixture that actually it tries to expand the concrete instead of concrete traditionally shrinking.
Greer says metal decking, more than 1,600 metric tons of steel, and 330 panes of glass has been installed, making it another significant part of the building.
The federal government has invested in this project a little over $3.5 million, very specifically to 3 areas. One is the audiovisual system in this building, which would have been a fraction of what it is without that investment. The kitchen upgrade, as well as the active networking within the building.
Workington says the space will be utilized for events as early as the end of spring, and by the end of June, they anticipate a full opening of the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center to the rest of the public. For Bridge City News, I'm Angela Stewart.
The Lethbridge Vipers were recently denied entry into the upcoming Canadian Junior Football League expansion. Members of the football club met with staff from the CJFL to talk about why Lethbridge could be a good fit for the league. Anthony Parker, the founder and president of the Vipers, explained why he thinks his team was shunned.
It felt like a gut punch after we heard the decision. It was about 3 years of hard work, planning, a lot of the stuff in the community, trying to get this off the ground. And we went to Saskatoon and did the presentation, and everything went really great. And at the end of the day, they said that they still felt that there wasn't enough financial, long-term sustainability in Lethbridge. And then also that the other teams didn't want to pick up the bill of having to travel to another city, I guess.
Now, Bridge City News reached out to the Canadian Junior Football League for comment on the story, but have yet to hear back. You know, it's Game 1 in Saskatchewan tonight between the Lethbridge Hurricanes and Moose Jaw Warriors in their best-of-7 first-round WHL matchup. The Canes, which finished with a 36-26-3-3 record, ended up as the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. The Warriors, which finished the season with a record of 41-24-0-3, earned 4th place in the East along with home ice advantage. In the regular season, the Canes went 1-3 against Moose Jaw. Game 2 goes Saturday night, 7 p.m. in Moose Jaw, before the clubs return to Lethbridge for Game 3, 7 p.m. at the NMAC Centre on Tuesday night. The Hurricanes are facing the Warriors in the WHL playoffs for the first time since 1997, when the Canes dispatched of Moose Jaw in 6 games in the second round en route to the WHL championship. The head coach of the Humboldt Broncos, Scott Barney, says his team continues to play in honor of those who were killed 5 years ago in a horrific bus crash. 16 people died and 13 others were injured when a transport truck blew through a stop sign and hit the team's bus back on April 6th of 2018.
It's special for our players to put on the Humboldt Broncos jersey. You go onto the ice every day and you see the retired numbers, the names of the people who were involved in the tragedy, and you know what, we play for them every day, and you know, it's an honor for myself to coach the Humboldt Broncos, and I'm sure it's an honor for each and every one of our players to play, right? So obviously we want to do our best and hopefully make everyone proud. Yeah, without the community, we wouldn't be a team. We wouldn't have an organization, and the support they've given in the years I've been here is just tremendous. Say we average over 1,000 fans a game with a 6,000 people community is just amazing, right? And you know, we try to get our players involved in the community as much as we can. There's been a lot of positives too throughout the tragedy with you know, Dana Braun's legacy through the Hockey Gives Blood, Northern Lights movement for kids. You got Toby Boulay with the Green Shirt Day. Many bursaries and scholarships and positive stuff that have come from it, and I'm sure many more things to come into the future.
The truck driver Jaskrit Singh Sidhu is currently serving an 8-year sentence in connection with a collision from 5 years ago. It appears as though Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is gaining in momentum. According to a recent Nanos poll, Poilievre is now the preferred choice for Prime Minister among Canadians. Just over 1,100 Canadians aged 18 and older were polled ending March 24th. Over the past 4 weeks, Poilievre's popularity has increased by 2% to almost 29%, while Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's popularity has dropped 5.5% to just under 26% support. The NDP's Jagmeet Singh was a distant third at 16.1%. The Bloc's Yves Francois Blanchette was at 4.4%. Maxime Bernier from the People's Party of Canada came in at 3.9%. And Green Party's Elizabeth May was at 3.8% support. As for party support, the Conservatives sit at 60 points on the Power Index, followed by the Liberals at 47. The NDP was close behind at 46. Political experts say a key reason for the Tory surge in popularity is that their share of accessible voters in Canada is growing. CPC leader Pierre Poilievre commented on the appointment of Martine Richard as the interim ethics commissioner. Richard is the sister-in-law to Cabinet Minister Dominic LeBlanc.
Mr. LeBlanc, of course, was found guilty, just like his boss, Justin Trudeau, of violating the ethics law, and his solution to make sure he's not found guilty again is to name his sister-in-law. Maybe they can talk about liberal ethics violations around the Christmas table while they're eating turkey dinner as family members. You know, this is the Liberal Party's become the family and friends party, where they name friends, family members to protect them from accountability for their corruption. And if you don't laugh about it, you'll cry.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump was indicted by a grand jury in New York City for his alleged part in hush money payments made to women, including adult film star Stormy Daniels. It's alleged that Trump had multiple extramarital affairs.
This is an unprecedented moment in history. It is the first time a criminal charge has been brought against a former U.S. president. This case goes back to the 2016 presidential election, when it's alleged that Donald Trump and his allies paid hush money to porn actress Stormy Daniels in connection with her allegations that she had an extramarital affair with Donald Trump. It's alleged that Trump and his allies, including his former lawyer Michael Cohen, made a $130,000 payment to Ms. Daniels in order to keep her quiet about the alleged encounter. This is significant because it's the first time Donald Trump faces criminal charges in connection with investigations into his conduct. Those investigations shadowed his presidency through 2016 and beyond, and he faces increasing legal scrutiny in several other investigations, including one being conducted by the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, and a separate Justice Department investigation being led by a special counsel looking at his retention of classified records at his home in Mar-a-Lago in Florida and his efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election.
The subject of COVID-19 vaccine injuries has been a hot-button topic. Claims of vaccine injuries are often dismissed if there were pre-existing conditions prior to receiving a dose. Charissa Clam, a former healthcare worker, says after receiving her second shot, she endured a long battle due to a confirmed vaccine injury. She now stresses the importance of doing your own independent research before allowing foreign substances into your body. She says she does not want others to go through what she experienced.
A lot of people were pro-vaccine, and I was one of them because I was a healthcare worker my whole life, and I had all my immunizations up to date, and so does my son. But after this, it's completely changed my mind. I am definitely not. I really have to rethink and do a lot of research before anything like this ever happens to me again. And I just hope people push themselves to do the research themselves to look into, a possible vaccine injury if you do get symptoms that maybe, you do need to go seek help.
Make sure you catch the full interview with former healthcare worker Charissa Clam and BCN's Naveen Day coming up after Business News. Well, it was a beautiful day to take your dog for a run or maybe enjoying an outdoor barbecue, and not a bad Saturday shaping up either. Full weather details are on deck. Lots of sunshine and warmer temperatures across much of southwestern Alberta again today. Jeanette Rocher is in now with all of the weather details. Jeanette, was Lethbridge close to being our country's hotspot for the day?
Well, you know, Hal, we were actually somewhat close. Fincastle, Alberta came in at 12.2 degrees, which was the hot spot in Alberta. We were somewhat close. We almost got to 11 degrees there for our daytime high. And to Saturday, okay, it could be an April Fool's joke. We're looking at a 30% chance of showers, some April showers there for April Fool's Day. And we're still seeing double digits for a high of 10 degrees on Saturday. A slight drop in the temperature for Sunday, not much, just slight. We're still at 2 degrees, but 60% a chance of flurries. Could see some flurry activity on Monday as well with a high of 0. Same thing for Tuesday, high of 0, and then back up to 5, and then double that for Thursday with a high of 10 degrees, ending that 7-day forecast with another double-digit day. So the average high for this time of year, 9 degrees. Average low, -4. 21 was our high temperature on this day back in 1964. That's more like it. And then it was a chilly -17 back in 1967, which was our chilliest day on record. 7:11. It's not Slurpee time. That was the time that our sun rose this morning. Sunset this evening at 8:01 p.m. So we're now sitting at 12 hours and 50 minutes of daylight. Okay, over on the west coast tomorrow, looking at a bit of a wet one. We're seeing a 40% chance of showers in Victoria, high of 10 degrees. Could see 60K winds in the Juan de Fuca Strait. We are seeing a 60% chance of showers in Vancouver with some wet flurries in the high terrain, high of 8 degrees there. 7 degrees the expected high in Edmonton tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud, and could see some fog dissipating in the morning, and a high of 8 degrees in Calgary tomorrow. Could see a mix of some showers and possibly even some flurries there tomorrow as well. As we look to the rest of the prairies, fairly sunny conditions. Looking at a mix of sun and cloud in Saskatoon with a high of 2 degrees, high of 1 in Regina with mainly sunny skies, and lots of sunshine also expected tomorrow in Winnipeg with a high of -1. Okay, it's going to be a little bit of a wet one as we move into central Canada. We are looking at a risk of a thunderstorm in Toronto and some periods of rain, 12 degrees the high there, and mixed precipitation in both Ottawa and Montreal, seeing 2 centimeters of snow, 5 millimeters of rain there for both of those cities, high of 10 in Ottawa, high of 12 degrees tomorrow in Montreal. As we get further east into the Maritimes, Fredericton's high sitting at 6 degrees tomorrow. Could see a mix of some snow mixed with some flurries there. Same thing for Halifax, high of 8 degrees there. Could see same thing for Charlottetown, high of 4 degrees and a high of 5 in St. John's, Newfoundland with mainly sunny skies. So there you have it. That is your forecast.
Today's weather report is brought to you by Ridge Utilities, providing competitive rates for electricity, natural gas, and internet, while investing back in communities across southern Alberta.
Industry Minister Francois Philippe Champagne explained his decision to remove the final regulatory hurdle from Rogers' $26 billion takeover of Shaw Communications. He says companies must meet specific commitments or face significant fines.
I have also secured a wide-ranging set of commitments from Rogers on behalf of Canadians, and they are also legally binding. They include, among others, the establishment of a Western headquarters in Calgary to be maintained for a minimum of 10 years. The creation of 3,000 new jobs in Western Canada, which must be maintained for a minimum of 10 years. A commitment to invest $5.5 billion to expand 5G coverage and additional network services, and a commitment to invest $1 billion to connect rural, remote, and Indigenous communities in our country.
The Canadian economy grew by 0.5% in January. That reverses a contraction of 0.1% in the previous month. Stats Canada says its initial estimate for February suggests growth continued with a gain of 0.3%. Economists say it appears as though the economy will post its first quarter growth of 2.5% following a flat reading in the fourth quarter. BMO says it's pumping up its growth estimate for the Canadian economy for all of this year by 3 ticks to 1 full percentage point. Inflation in the 20 countries which use the euro has slowed to the lowest level in a year. Data released by the EU Stats Agency shows that consumer prices rose 6.9% in March from a year earlier. That is down from 8.5% in February. Energy prices dropped 0.9%, but prices for food, alcohol, and tobacco rose by a whopping 15.4%. Core inflation, which excludes food and energy prices, increased to a record 5.7%, which economists expect will push the European Central Bank to keep raising interest rates. Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was up 158 points on the day to finish at 20,099. The Dow was up 415 points to 33,274. The S&P 500 was up 58 on the day to 4109, and the Nasdaq was up 208 points to 12,221. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up $1.30 to $75.67 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 7 cents to $2.17 US. Gold was down $10.81 on the day to $1969.56 US an ounce, and silver was up 20 cents to $24.10 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $11.43 per bushel, barley's at $9.12, canola's at $17, and corn is at $10.72 per bushel. Live cattle were up 80 cents to $168.35. Feeder cattle were up 93 cents to $200.83, and lean hogs were down $1.20 to $72.25. The Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours to $73.98 US. Recapping one of our top stories, the province announced an additional $4.32 million to help Ukrainian refugees find temporary living spaces upon arriving here in the province. The funding will offer further emergency accommodations for the next 4 months to supplement support from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. The extra cash will increase the number of hotel rooms available to Ukrainians when they first arrive in Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Calgary, Edmonton, and Red Deer. There's a very strong voice on social media which says it is standing up for Albertans' rights and resources. The group calls itself Alberta Proud. Coming up, I'll chat with the group's president, Lindsay Wilson, to see where they stand on a wide range of issues. If you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. We'd love to hear from you.
Here's today's Bridge City News community calendar. Lethbridge College invites everyone to their upcoming student research symposiums taking place April 1st and 13th. Students from their School of Engineering Technologies programs, along with those from Environmental Sciences and Agriculture, will be presenting their capstone projects. Hear and learn from up-and-coming leaders and experts in their fields of studies as they share what they've learned in their programs. All symposiums are free to attend. To find out more and to register, visit give.lethbridgecollege.ca/student research symposiums. Snacks and light refreshments will be provided. The Family Center downtown Lethbridge is providing a weekly opportunity for dads, uncles, and grandfathers to play and connect with their children. Me and My Dad takes place on Saturdays from 10 to 11:30 a.m., featuring fun, brain-building activities for male caregivers to play with their kids. This program is free and open to children under 12. For more information and to register, visit famcenter.ca. And that's today's Bridge City News community calendar.
It would appear as though the battle lines are being drawn here in Alberta as the rhetoric and opinions are flying high with the Alberta election just around the corner. But what is to become of Alberta and those who call this beautiful province home? On social media, there seems to be a little less middle ground. Now, one of those social media voices with a passion for our province is the group Alberta Proud, and Lindsay Wilson is the president of Alberta Proud, and she joins us now from Cochrane, Alberta, home of 52 flavors of McKay's ice cream. Hey, Lindsay, welcome to Bridge City News.
You know, I've only had McKay's ice cream, I think, twice in all the many years I've lived here, but it sure still does get those lineups around the block, and it's a great tourist draw, and it's a local family that's born and raised the business, and you know, hats off to any business that can make it through all the iterations of the decades of being a small business.
Yeah, growing up in Calgary, my hometown, I used to take my motorbike, my old Yamaha, out to McKay's almost every weekend. So, Lindsay, Alberta Pike had that famous quote, "Whenever the people need a hero, we shall provide him." Now, many have given up hope in politics altogether. How are you combating a lot of the apathy and cynicism right now?
Yeah, you know what? That's so true. There is a lot of apathy. There is a lot of cynicism. I think since the pandemic, it has divided us politically, unfortunately, and we're hoping that we can come back together. So here at Alberta Proud, we're a grassroots advocacy group. We're very focused on supporting our best in the world, Alberta Energy, and then through that, we stand up for low taxes, accountable government, personal accountability, and standing up to elitist, hypocritical politicians and celebrities. So when we talk about bringing people together, while we talk about standing up for Alberta autonomy, we also talk about us being a united Canada and we try and focus a lot. Politics is riddled with a lot of negativity, especially these days, but we try and focus on the good things. We highlight the good things that are happening and how, for example, when it comes to talking about Alberta Energy, you know, we can see coast to coast that the average person really understands that this is a good thing, that it's a good thing for to bring our LNG to Tidewater and to bring it to our global allies, and that, you know, we're better together as a nation when we support Alberta Energy. We're supporting a Canadian energy. So that's definitely one lens that we try to find some unity. As far as politically, it's definitely a little bit more challenging, and there's certainly an east-west divide. But with the current antics that have been going on 8 years and counting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, we're hoping that our friends in the east are starting to come around, and I think we're seeing that with the Pierre Poilievre movement, and we're hoping that we can all come back to this kind of middle ground of common sense and just wanting politicians to start advocating for us and stop spending our money so irresponsibly.
And you know, if you support Alberta Energy at the same time, you get billions of dollars more in federal transfer payments. So, I mean, that's a lot of our bread and butter here, right?
That's right. And well, you know, 60% of Albertans want a better deal. They want to redo the equalization formula. We're hoping that we can hold this next government to account, because that kind of went quiet, coincided with, you know, the pandemic, of course, and we're hoping to bring that to a forefront again, because we do think Albertans need a better deal, and that's the Albertans people have spoken, and that's what they want, and we agree with that.
Lindsay, political policy items can move slowly at the best of times. Now, last time you were on Bridge City News, we asked you about the federal firearms legislation. Can you talk a bit about the power that people have to change policy and place more pressure on the government?
Yeah, certainly. We did a lot of rally cries about that. We had an online petition going. I think this was something that crossed. This wasn't really even a partisan issue, and we've had some success with that. But there's certainly more to come on that front. Basically, when it comes, what the Liberals had proposed would do absolutely nothing to prevent gun crimes and violent gun crimes on the street. Really, what they were going after was going to punish law-abiding hunters and gun owners. And I think our organization did a really good job, coast to coast, on shedding a lot of light on that. And of course, all the firearms agencies and groups across the country were big voices for that. So I think people really came together on that issue, and that was brought forward. And so I think we've seen some positive steps in that direction. But anything can happen, right? They say one thing and do another. So more to come.
Lindsay, what do you say to your followers to really encourage them to keep interacting with their political leaders, whether it's municipal, provincial, or federal? Why is it so important to be engaged in your local community and getting to know the issues that are impacting your community?
Well, it's funny because what draws sometimes the most attention for the most apathetic of voters is the antics of, say, Prime Minister Trudeau. But it's funny that people tend to care about policies and politics in the opposite order of how it affects them. The best way to get engaged and to really understand the day-to-day workings of how policies are impacting you is to really go municipal first, then provincial, then federal. And those of us who are hyper engaged, of course, we're looking at all of it, and then we're hyper focusing on different issues. But I really, really believe that it starts, they say charity starts at home. So political engagement really starts at home. And when I say that, I mean it really starts by getting involved in your local community, whether it's through advocacy groups, volunteer groups, heck, even your kids' sports associations. I mean, all of these local groups are run by volunteers. And I think that's what a lot of people who are burnt out, overworked, overstimulated, overindulged, I think we're all fighting to keep up. And I understand that. Certainly, I'm one of those people as well. But get involved at the local level and get in touch with your local councillors, your mayor. Find out what's happening in your city, and then find out how the provincial level is impacting that, and then go to the federal level. So I wish people would kind of start doing it from the opposite end. And I think people don't really realize that the municipal bylaws and laws that impact you on a day-to-day, from where you park your trailer year-round to how your streets are swept and that sort of thing.
Let's talk about more of that apathetic rhetoric or sentiment once again. Many people I talk to say, you know what, why even bother voting? It's not going to make much of a difference. Many people say they've lost trust in our politicians altogether, Lindsay. Can you talk about why this next provincial election is so vital for people to get out and vote?
I know we always say that every election is about change, but I cannot stress enough to the viewers of this that this is an incredibly critical election. I've been saying this for a couple of months now. Alberta is back, baby. And you know what? I want us to stay that way. We believe in holding all our governments to account, but the proof is in the pudding. And as far as we can see, the UCP is head and shoulders above where we believe that an NDP, Rachel Notley-led government would be at this time. We do believe that overall Premier Danielle Smith is doing a really good job at putting Alberta at the forefront and making us the economic engine of this country. And we believe this is a really critical election. Corporate tax rates have been lowered. There's affordability has been, payments have been issued to neutralize the just inflation. That's what we call it, not just inflation, but just inflation impacts that have been shaking our nation, and cost of food and fuel at the pump and everything like that. So we believe that this UCP government is showing that they're transforming healthcare and making real changes. Like, there's some pretty significant changes that have happened. Healthcare, I think the pandemic really exposed how broken of a system it is, and layers of bureaucracy within AHS. And Premier Smith has gone in and she swept the board, replaced it with the one administrator, and they've made, red alerts on ambulances are down 60%. ER wait times are down 10%. Surgery backlog is going down all the time. MRIs and CT scans are becoming more readily available. These are huge accomplishments in what was an incredibly inefficient healthcare system. And I think she's also showing that the UCP does care about more boots on the ground and about our frontline workers, and that they're listening to them and not just the big wig union big bosses. And we just really think that this government needs 4 more years, and we will be there to hold them to account, and certainly a lot of other groups like ours will be as well. But we think that this is the government that's going to be, record paying down our debt and investing in Albertans at the same time in healthcare and education and critical infrastructure projects. So you got to get out. There's advanced voting. There's so many opportunities. And so I'm asking everybody, you got to get out and vote, and you got to take 2 people with you.
You talked about healthcare. I've been without a doctor for almost 3 years since my doctor left for the Netherlands, and we need more doctors. That's what's critical in a lot of communities, not just here in Lethbridge. So, Lindsay, let me ask you something. What will you and Alberta Proud be doing outside of encouraging people to get out and vote as we head up to the May 29th provincial election?
Absolutely. Well, we are hitting the road starting next week. We have launched the Can't Stop Alberta, but you can't sit on the couch tour. So we have dates, April 3rd and 4th, we're in Calgary. April 12th and 13th, we're in Edmonton. April 20th, we're in Red Deer, and then we had to reschedule our Lethbridge event. So I'm just waiting on the final confirmation, but we're hoping that it's going to be April 24th. So I will make sure to send your team the details on that. We're hoping you guys would come out to it. We're going to have your mayor out and speaking about it, and our theme on that will be municipal issues and how that's impacted by provincial decisions. So we're really hitting the pavement through this tour, through the Can't Stop Alberta tour, and we're wanting to connect with everyday Albertans and talk to them about standing up for Alberta, jobs, economy, affordability, energy, education, and crime and public safety, which is certainly a humongous issue at this time and is really growing. I mean, unfortunately, with the loss of 2 Edmonton police officers, like it's drawing a light on this, that we need to take our cities back. We need to get a hold of this opioid control crisis, which I believe Premier Smith's team is doing really great work through their Recovery First model. But I think unfortunately it takes tragedies like the loss of our men and women working the front lines to make Albertans realize, okay, like enough is enough. We need to take our cities back. And so we want to get people out at these rallies, meet us, talk to us, get some merch, ask questions. We're going to have a whole series of awesome panelists, people who work in advocacy like me, local celebrity figures and political figures. It's going to be pretty awesome. So I'm hoping we can get everybody out to join us.
You touched on some of the issues here. What about reconciliation as well with our Indigenous communities? How vital is that moving forward?
I think it's absolutely critical. And it was interesting. Dale Swampy from the National Coalition of Chiefs, he penned a really great op-ed last week talking about how just transition, and for the viewers, just transition, now called the Sustainable Jobs Plan, but that's Premier Trudeau's plans to essentially what it is. It's worse than his late father's national energy program of 40 years ago. Essentially what this will do is it will decimate our energy industry. It's talking about transitioning our oil and gas workers out from the energy industry into green jobs, whatever that means. So I think we're getting a little tired of this rhetoric, condemning our best in the world Alberta energy, which we are leading in carbon capture, utilization, and storage, in working right within our own industry right here to achieve low emissions. So yeah.
You know what, actually, Lindsay, we only have a couple of minutes left here, but I wanted to ask you, as president of Alberta Proud, do you feel that Albertans' voices are being heard in other parts of Canada, more specifically Ottawa?
That's really interesting. So we have a lot of advocates like Canadian Taxpayers Federation, who I think do a really good job at bringing those voices to Ottawa. But no, there is an East-West divide, and I think that's why we've seen such a tremendous following of the Pierre Poilievre movement, the official opposition leader of the Federal Conservative Party. I was just out at the CSFN conference in Ottawa last week, and the rally cries when he talks. He's an Alberta boy for sure, but he's standing up for common sense. He's standing up for conservative values, and he's standing up for our energy industry. And I think the alliance that would exist between him and Premier Smith is just vital for this country, to make us proud of our best in the world energy, and to make us proud of being Canadian, and